All right. Hi, I'm Jeff Hull, writer, producer, musician, and the like.
And the like, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
I'm Frank Musker. I'm a songwriter and part-time musician and a member of World Goes Round.
Part-time musician? Really?
Well, when
You've,
yeah,
only,
part-time.
you've only been doing this your whole life, right?
I'm more concerned with making olive oil, to be honest. But it's that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So we're here today to talk about a new release. It happened last Friday on the 17th, Disneyland's 60th anniversary, by the way. So let's talk about
Wow.
that. Talk about your group and your video and your song that you released.
Well, World Goes Round. This particular song, "Round the World," is a kind of it's one of the lighter kind of songs we did on the album, and it was written by two friends of ours with me. And it kind of it's just a bit more kind of sunny and bright than some of the stuff. And Big House is a kicking track, but it's kind of serious. Whereas this one is a bit more kind of summertime and let's have party, let's have fun and get out there and enjoy the world. And it's exactly what people can't do right now. So I suppose it's a fantasy about what's going to happen when lockdown is finally over. Maybe it's like that.
Whenever that happens. Oh my God.
That's
Sorry. I'm getting
great.
emails here. Okay.
I'm gonna keep hearing these beeps. I'm like, what's Jeff doing over there?
Yeah, I don't know how to turn it off.
Oh, also I read something about like who actually found this missing cassette, because we want to talk about a cassette. I don't know whether Jeff has one this time around or.
Oh, I couldn't find one, but I still have the dad. I have the dad.
Look it, I have mine. Here, guys.
Ah,
To all the listeners and viewers out there who don't know what this is.
It's similar.
There you go.
Boys and girls, all the kids.
Yeah,
That's what
called
it
a
used to look
cassette.
like. That is digital. The cassette is analog.
that's what people used to listen to music on in 1989.
Also, kids, this is called an 8-track. Probably.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Now you're going back.
Now I'm going back. I'm
Yeah.
aging.
It's like the Antiques Roadshow, we're kind of
I remember those things in the car. The guy that used to live down the street from me when I was a kid, he got one in, and they were like this big. They were huge, and you shove this thing in, and it would be 4 indexes. And that's all I remember, right? And it was just like the song would be playing, and right in the middle of the song, it'd go to index number 2 or whatever those. That was like crazy. It was so cumbersome. But they loved it, It's like, hey, it sounds great.
So the story is that Marty and Tommy were in touch. The Marty Walsh, our guitar player, and Tommy Vicari is our producer, engineer, marvelous engineer. And Tommy said to Marty, "Have you, what about this World Goes Round stuff from such a long time ago, from 1989? Do you have a tape of it or anything?" And Marty said, "Well, I think I might have a cassette or something lying around upstairs, So he looked around in his attic and he found a cassette. And he sent the cassette to Tommy. Tommy duped it off onto digital, and then I got a copy of it. I was traveling with my wife in India last year, and I got an email with 2 of the songs on it, and they sounded great. I mean, they sounded amazing. I hadn't heard them in 30 years. In fact, none of us had heard them in 30 years. So we were all just kind of blown away about like, where did what was this? We forgot all about this. This is amazing, and it sounds great. And it really was. It was pure fate, because cassettes are very kind of volatile things. They can go wobbly, and the music can suddenly get all distorted. I mean, it's not a great way to store music. But by luck, this cassette happened to survive 30 years, and then it was duped off onto digital. And that's really the sound of the record. And it's a tribute to Tommy's unbelievable engineering skills that it sounds so crisp and so punchy, and everybody comments on how great it sounds. And it's from an audio cassette, It's really quite incredible. That part of the story is extraordinary.
I don't know, Frank, if you remember, excuse me, but when when I was signed on EMI as a writer, worst 3 years of my life, I used to, you'd always have to go in and play it for whoever, was your rep at the time. We'd have to go in and take cassettes and play, and you'd always hold your breath, because you put the cassette in, and they'd start to play, and then the excuses would start to fly. Oh, no, that's way too fast. Your cassette player is playing way too fast. It doesn't sound like. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but it was horrific.
Really not the most reliable way to listen to a tape, or if you want to store tape kind of in pristine condition. So it's pure luck and just dumb luck that the thing survived. But what's extraordinary is that, here we are nearly a year down the road. And, we have a record deal, we have 2 videos, we have an album coming out. Tom and Jeffrey are in the studio almost every day, kind of, finishing up the tracks that were never finished for the album. And, we're a year down the track. We are, we're a functioning band. It's amazing. It's a hilarious story. I'm loving every minute of it. I'm really enjoying it. Also, I mean, the original amazement was how good the tracks sound. Then we went from one thing to another about, can we really get a record company interested? And they wanted to record it. We thought, okay, terrific. Then, my friend Dominic Bugatti, my old songwriting partner, made the first video of Big House. And it's progressed from there. I mean, we're picking up, thousands of listeners on Spotify every day now. It's extraordinary. So we can't even believe our luck. It's just too nice. It's fun.
That's the best thing for 2020 is you guys. That's going to bring out this new singles and the album to follow. What better can we ask? It's amazing music. I've listened to a couple of songs, and I'm very blessed to be able to cover this and share it with our audience.
Oh, that's such a nice thing to say.
We're appreciative you are covering it, so thank you.
We're very excited about the reactions that we're getting because, to be honest, until we started doing interviews, it's like kicking a football off a cliff. You just don't know what's happening or what's happening to your record. When you start to do interviews and you start to talk to people and you get feedback from people like yourself, and they're going, I really am loving this music. That's an amazing feeling because these songs were written 30 years ago at least, and recorded 30 years ago. So it is slightly mind-boggling to me. I have to say, I'm still slightly perplexed by the whole thing. I'm loving it, but I'm also kind of like, what is it? What's going on? Things have their time, but I didn't realize that the time for this record would be 30 years later.
Wow.
But hey, terrific. As long as it happens before I die, I'm really happy. I don't mind it.
It's like a scene in a movie. Cut to 30 years later in 2 seconds.
The bucket list, I will be a rock star.
With the cane.
With the cane. Zimmer frame, it's like.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. I've just got a weird.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about Round the World. Which of you all wrote that? It's the lyrics are so true today, which is really wow. Like Outer Limits.
Round the World is different from Big House. Big House was the first single, and that was the one that Jeffrey and Marty and I wrote, and it was kind of a serious song. I had just come back from Brazil. I was in the Amazon, and I was just amazed by how extraordinary the place is. It's just it's a unique thing. And I found out also very troublingly at the time that it was being torn down and burnt at an incredible rate. I mean, just something
still is.
Couldn't even calculate. So we wrote this song, as part of our repertoire for Big House because it just seemed like a big thing to do. The idea that we were come back to LA, nobody wanted to talk about it. Everybody was too busy with their job and their partying and their social life. And I just got this idea for a bunch of very hedonistic people kind of living in a big mansion up on a hill, drinking champagne and partying while the city is kind of drowning in filth and garbage and pollution, and it seemed like a good metaphor for what we're doing to the planet, and 30 years on, it feels even more appropriate, Now, Round the World is a different story. Round the World, I hope, shows that, we're not all kind of, doom mongering.
That's actually one of the only outside written songs, except you co-wrote that, but.
Yeah, it was written with 2 friends of mine at the time, Jay Corley and Kim Tyler, who were both musicians, both, guys who were in the sort of, in the orbit of the band, they were friends of ours, and we regularly wrote stuff with friends of ours, and it just happened that this particular song really fit the groove. I loved the chorus when I heard it. It just sounded so kind of up and, uplifting, and anthemic, but in a kind of sweet way, not like a sort of, we're going to rule the world kind of way.
No, it's a fun tune. It's a really fun tune.
It brings everybody in, you immediately, it makes you feel like the sun is out and summertime, and it's a lovely. It's a lovely
It kind of
day.
reminds me a little bit of Don Henley's like Boys of Summer kind of feel. You know, even though it's
Yes.
it has a little bit
completely
of that.
different song, but it reminds me of
But
that.
interestingly, when we wrote it, it was very much an acoustic tune. It was just like a country rock tune, like a sort of Jackson Browne or something like that. And then Mr. Frank over here, comes along. He's our kind of resident R&B dude, and puts this kick-ass kind of Prince, drum and bass feel together with cellos, like
Wow.
I don't know, like Raspberry Beret or something like that, but it just became a fantastic sort of create that kind of. I love that kind of fusion of stuff where you get stylistically, you get things that clash and they create something that sounds very new, And to me, Round the World has that, it's a strum along tune, I mean, you can learn the chords in 3 seconds, but the arrangement that Jeff did on it is just, I mean, block your ears, Jeff, you'll get big-headed if I say, but it's just genius because it has this amazing kind of freshness to it, and power because of the cello line and stuff. So go figure, But the song is actually quite a serious song too, because it's about leaving one love that relationship that's going nowhere, and going off with a new love. So it's kind of it's kind of serious in a way too. But when you get to the chorus, it's really optimistic because it's like, I'm going out there, I'm going to just embrace life with everything it has, and the great discovery that when you do get out there, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody's the same, regardless of their culture or their nationality or their race or whatever. We all want the same thing. We all want to be happy. We all want love. We want fulfillment. We want excitement. We want joy. all of those things. So hopefully this is a song that makes people feel good in the middle of a pretty crap situation.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it's going to do that.
Feel good every time I hear it. So that is the power of music. I've heard this song 8,000 times, but every time I hear it, it just makes me feel good. It's like an infusion of positive energy. So that's a good thing. If you can do that as a musician, you're doing your job.
Yeah, that's good. I know last time we spoke, we talked about that new show called Songland, because I wanted to bring that up again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
without,
right.
Without you guys, there's no way all of us could have the music that we inspire us, motivate us, because without the songwriter, there would be no song, and that show's amazing. And I love the fact that all of you are songwriters. So let's touch a little bit about your songwriting, what that means to you.
Yeah, I guess I came into this business as a musician first, even though I was dabbling in songwriting when I was, I don't know, I think the first song I wrote was maybe when I was 14 or 15 or something like that. But I had no aspirations to be a songwriter. I just wanted to be a great musician and do that. And then as the years went on, 5 years or whatever, not very long, I kind of recognized, I said, this is about as far as I'm going to go with this. I need to take this a little further. And that's when I started taking up writing and arranging and all that kind of stuff more seriously, because I'd have a longer shelf life in this business. So that's when I got into songwriting. So I really, and then it really cemented me when I was signed to EMI, and that's when I had to, like crank everything out, which is not really what I like to do. But that's kind of when everything really went towards
It's a really creative period, though, Jeff. I mean, Piano in the Dark is an acknowledged classic.
Well, I wrote that before I got
When I
signed.
tell my songwriter friends in England that I'm in a band with the guy who wrote Piano in the Dark, they kind of go, really? Oh, that's a really classy tune.
And I'm a drummer. Hey.
Yeah, it's a one-off, He's not really like that.
But yeah, so I kind of went a roundabout way, as opposed to, I don't know, Frank. I don't know what your story is on this. Did you kind of start out being a songwriter?
I started out in a duo with Dominic, my old songwriting partner, Dominic.
Oh, right, yeah.
Been my partner for, 45 years, something ridiculous. We met at university and we started playing together as a duo. And then our whole career kind of progressed from there. We used to play with 2 acoustic guitars in a wine bar on a Friday night, and had a whale of a time. We loved it. But then after we finished, got our degrees, we actually got serious about it, and we had a record deal and a publishing deal. And I just sort of fell into it. It's one of those things. But it was, and because we were having really no success as artists, but people were covering our songs, we suddenly started to think of ourselves as songwriters, because, you go with what's being successful. And we had an incredible run of about 10 years in Britain before we came over to America. But it was always our aspiration to work, you know, in America, in LA particularly, because of just the sheer brilliance of and the abundance of these amazing musicians and producers and studios. You know, that was the benchmark. That's what you aspired to. You know, at the time, we're talking about people like Quincy Jones and Arif Mardin and you know, bands like Toto with Jeff Porcaro, Steve Lucas, those kind of A-list musicians, you know. And that really, you know, coming to America and recording in America just made us kind of up our game, you know, and we had to operate at a different level, which is exactly what we wanted. It was like going back to school, really. But I think the most interesting thing about World Goes Round is that all four of us are actually songwriters. You know, that was the basis of the band. That's how we came together in the first place, because we had a studio in Laurel Canyon. And Elizabeth and I had this studio in Laurel Canyon. Loads of people used to record there. And, you know, Jeff and I had written together, Marty and I had written together, you know, and we just suddenly thought, wouldn't it be great to just make a record where there's no A&R people, there's no input from the record company. We're just making a record, you know, that we want to make for ourselves. And that's the record that we're making right now, 30 years later, you know. So it's an amazing thing. It just shows you, you know, things have their time, and if you do good work, sooner or later, it will percolate up to the top, you know. But it's the core of this band is the songwriting, and it's a rare thing to have a band of 4 people who are all good songwriters. You know, that's kind of a strong element to the band. Usually, bands have one songwriter who writes all the songs and, you know, makes all the money, and the others get really pissed off and sue him for 30 years. You know. In this case, you know, we're all involved in the writing. We're all involved in everything, and it really is a democracy. It's incredible. We're going through the process right now of doing the artwork for our album cover and picking the shot and making a logo and all of the things that you have to do for when the album comes out in the autumn. And you know, we're working with some really super talented people, but in the end, the decisions always come back to the 5 of us, you know, to the 4 band members and to Tommy, who is an unofficial band member anyway, as the producer and the engineer. You know, the 5 of us, our little creative circle, in a weird sort of way, is completely self-contained. I think there's one outside overdub on the whole album, guy playing an accordion.
Pretty much.
Brian Mann, beautiful overdub. He's the only outside musician. Everything else is made and recorded and played by the band. So maybe there will be more guest musicians in the end or in the future, I don't know, but just for now, this is really about the 4 of us, you know, our writing, how we feel about things, how we want things to sound. It's not fashionable, of course it's not fashionable, it's 30 years old, but the interesting thing is it really is relevant, you know. It seems to chime really well with people who love that era of music, because it's of that era, but it's brand new because no one's ever heard it before. So
there's no such
thing to be in, you know.
There's no such thing as fashionable when it comes to good music. You know, good music transcends decades and generations and stuff like that. You know, I think.
I agree. And you know, the thing about it is, as a songwriter, you always aspire to have the best possible version of your song. You know, that's the dream. Whenever you write a song that you think is a hit, you hope you're going to get the best producer, the best singer, the best band to play it. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's a bit of a disappointment, even if it's a hit, you know. So to be able to take something creative and take it absolutely all the way, you know, to the max, to the stage of getting it out there, without outside kind of interference is it's a blessing, you know, it's a once in a lifetime shot. So I'm enjoying every minute of it. And what's interesting is that you know, Jeff and Tommy and everybody, we're all working on another 4 or 5 tunes, you know, to supplement the original 7, which were written at the time and recorded at the time. They just weren't brought up to the same kind of mark. We never got round to finishing them off, basically. So now we're finishing off these tracks 30 years down the line, you know. And it's really interesting because it's like a time warp. You know, we're not trying to pretend it's 30 years ago or anything. Everybody's just playing and singing in the way they're doing it now. But it just fits seamlessly. It's extraordinary. So it has this great feeling of then and now about it. You know, it's not just a nostalgia fest. There are 4 or 5 songs which for us are brand new because, you know, they've been sitting in there and suddenly they sound. I mean, they're sounding amazing. I'm really looking forward to playing you this album. There's some really
I made this analogy last time. I think it kind of reminds me of that movie 7 and Up, and I'm not sure if that's the title of the movie. That was an incredible concept at the time when they picked, you know, 10 kids from age 7 and followed them until they were 30. And that's kind of what this is turning out to be, you know, working on the same project.
The line just came to me. This is a time-lapse album. You know?
It's one of those things where you put it in the box and
you watch a flower kind of, growing like that and opening and shrinking and stuff. This is like a time-lapse album. It's sort of, it is extraordinary though, because it isn't just about discovering something that was finished and dusted then. We never thought there'd be an album in it now, but the demand is such that the record.
But it's the same project. That's the thing. It's not a new record. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same. What do you call those things? Remember those things where you used to in school? Time capsule. Time capsule. Yeah, and you put all this stuff in there and you bury it, and 30 years later somebody would dig it up and throw it away.
Yeah.
So I'm like this terrible sort of guy with the whip going, get in that studio, finish that damn record, and it's like just go, we're on lockdown, nobody can move.
Have you two heard of Ken Burns?
Yes.
Well, I think Ken Burns he needs to do a documentary about you guys.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That would be fun. Well, hopefully one of these days we'll meet up and actually play in the same recording studio. That would be a novelty. That would be fun.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I know you can't go out and perform, but are you guys going to do like a Zoom play where all of you get together so we could see you all play via Zoom? I think everyone's doing that.
That's tricky for us because, to put on a show that's worth looking at, you need rehearsal. I have no doubt at all that this band could absolutely knock people's socks off live, but every band needs rehearsal. Trying to rehearse over Zoom with, I'm not sure it's happening. And to be honest, we've got our work cut out for us just to get this album finished and to get it out there and promote it. But, in the new year, hopefully, let's pray for better times. If things open up and there's, for example, television and stuff like that, we would love to do that. It would be a fantastic situation to put together. Marty, I don't know if you know, but Marty Walsh, our guitar player extraordinaire, is apart from being a sort of, rock star guitar hero, he's also a professor of music at Berkeley. And when I said to him, well, if we needed a live band, could we put together a band of supporting musicians? And he said, listen, I can put together a kick-ass band in about 5.5 minutes. He said there are so many talented kids there who are coming through who would just love to play in a band like this with 4 old geezers like yourself. So it's a funny thing, but that's how I envisaged a live situation to go. When the time is right, and when there's when it's feasible for everybody to do it. I think there might be a real desire there on the part of all of us to get out there and just show what we can do, but I think it would be a great thing to do, to come out with a really young band, a really kind of interesting band of just, absolutely crack musicians from Berkeley. That would be an amazing thing to do.
Wow. How did all of you stay together these 30 years? We have our own lives, we go do other things. How did you guys remain friends?
Well, we didn't. Everybody went their separate ways, and
went their separate ways.
The stupid little cassette brought everybody together.
Okay.
A little cassette, which could easily have been faulty. None of this would have ever happened. We were this far away from oblivion. But the best thing about this record, and it sounds sentimental, but it's true. We all remembered what great friends we are and how much fun we had making this record. And Tommy and I have been in touch almost every night, right? Because of the time difference. We're 8 hours ahead in England, so. I'll be going to bed just as he's going into the studio. So we have a sort of 15-minute WhatsApp and stuff. And it gets quite emotional at times. And I was saying to him, he said to me, this record is saving my life. He said, I don't know what I'd be doing if it wasn't for making this record. And for me as well, this project has given me a focus, a creative focus and something. It's such a blessing, to hit this moment. When the whole world is shut down, and to be doing something so creative and such fun, I can't tell you how grateful I am. It really is fantastic. And the best thing of all is I've got my chums back. We're all a bit older and wiser, and we've all still got a bit of hair, and we all think it's hilarious, and we're making the best music we can. And I think it's an absolute blessing. We're loving it, absolutely every minute of it. And Jeff pretends not to be loving every minute of it, but he really is.
No, what? Hey, he's gotten me out of my house. I would be at my pool right now.
Oh, life is tough.
Yeah,
it's tough, Oh, gee, I got to go to the studio today. And program some drums.
In my swimming trunks.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's 90 degrees out there.
So before we go, let me see your mask. Let's see what your mask look like.
Oh, quirky, I forgot about that. I had a look at my mask the last time. I didn't like what I saw.
I got a new Mickey.
I need
I got a new Mickey.
I need a new mask.
I think I need a new
my
mask.
Halloween mask. My little kitten, black cats.
I think I look like a sort of rather inept bank robber in this thing. I think I need to get something else. Not working for me.
So I see.
Maybe I need a World Goes Round logo there.
Yes.
There you go. See, I see you're celebrating. You're celebrating Disneyland's. What would you say? 60th anniversary.
65.
65. Wow.
65 years old, July 17th.
Wow.
July 17th, that's a big day. That's a day I'm going to remember. That's the release day of Round the World. So
Yes, that's why. I love it. And my ex-husband's birthday.
Oh, that has to be a downside to everything. You know, what can I say?
Positive.
Yeah.
Stay positive, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have any last words for us, gentlemen?
Stay safe.
Come on,
Wear
Jeff.
a freaking mask and go by World Goes Round.
Stay safe and follow the band. You know, watch this space, watch how it develops, because we sure as hell don't know what's going on. So it'll be entertaining from now until the end of the year, one way or another. You know, we're just making it up as we go along, and it seems to be working. So, you know, it's a very entertaining story, and I'm enjoying being part of it every day.
Yeah, we thank you. I look forward to covering it. I was waiting for the new album to come out and
Great, Judy.
So are
I look
we.
forward to it.
It's great talking to you too. Thank you very much.
We talked about this before I go. One of the things we talked about, if everyone's still on lockdown by the time the album's ready to come out, what we might do is have a sort of Zoom, kind of online Zoom launch party. You know, with an invited
That's doable.
guest list. You know, and
Yeah, you need a PR event.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that way it would be a good PR opportunity, but it would also be really nice for everybody just to kind of get together, because there's so many good creative people working on this on all sorts of levels, on the video, on the branding, on the artwork. You know, I mean,
Awesome.
it's a labor of love. Everybody's throwing their weight behind